Hey guys, welcome back to another video, part 3 of how to easily manage your home. It is so hot here right now. We have been in the hundreds for a couple days now, and it's supposed to even reach 115 today, which is super unlikely for our area. Typically here in Oregon, summer doesn't even bother to come around until after the 4th of July. So we aren't quite sure what to do with all of this heat. And you guys all know that I love summertime because I am always cold. And it is the one time of year when I'm actually not always cold. So for me to be saying it's really hot is a big deal. But I am very thankful for air conditioning. I think for the first time in my life, up until this point, I haven't really seen much use for it. But right now I am very thankful that we have air conditioning in our house and in our car. And I'm also very thankful that we have a lot of lakes and splash pads and pools around that we can use. And we've just really been enjoying playing in the water outside during this heat. Let me know in the comments down below how your summer is starting. Are you off to a hot start like we are, or is this just something weird that is happening in our part of the country? So for those of you who have been following along, you know that this is part 3 of our How to Easily Manage Your Home series. And if you're new to the series, it's basically a home management 101 mini course where I'm walking you through how to set up your routines that will make your home run smoothly. Now, if you haven't had a chance to watch the other 2 in the series so far, go ahead and check those out first because each video is building on the previous videos. So I will link those in the description down below, and I will put them also in the cards, but go ahead and check those out first. And that way you won't be lost or confused when we are building on the routines that we have already created. Now, this video will actually be the last video dealing with daily routines. And the reason we started with the daily routines is because we want to have some really good habits built into our day before we start bothering with our weekly rhythm or with our cleaning routine for the week or anything more complicated. So to recap, we started with the daily block schedule, then we built in the last video our laundry routine and our kitchen cleaning routine, and now, like I said, we are going to do those morning and evening routines and checklists. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Be sure that you have a pen and a notebook or whatever you are keeping your home management binder in, and also make sure you have the autopilot workbook if you are using the same templates that I am. If you are using the autopilot workbook, your templates for this video will look like this. This is the mom's morning and evening routine, and we will be building out those checklists in this video. And this is the kids' morning and evening routine. Now, if you are making your own template, that is totally okay. You can absolutely do that. But I would suggest that you put these 7 little check boxes or circles or whatever you want to use next to each line on the routine. And that is because this will, especially for your kids, help them gain a lot of independence when it comes to getting ready for the day and then getting ready for bed in the evening. Because once you show them how to do this, they will be able to check each item off as they complete it. And you won't have to be quite as hands-on with getting them ready for bed. And in addition to the regular notebook or binder that you are using, you will also need a piece of scratch paper for this particular video. So we are going to go ahead and start with building out the morning routine or the morning checklist for mom. And I just figured we would start with the very first thing in the morning and go all the way through to the very last thing in the evening. So for me and my house, my morning routine is the first thing that is going to happen. Now, I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly, how to build out your morning routine, but I will put some links in the description down below if you would like to see a more detailed video or if you would like to see a very detailed blog post for how to create your morning routine. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to grab that scratch paper, and I just have a notebook here that I'm going to use, and we are going to write down everything that would go in our ideal morning routine. So don't worry about being too realistic here. This is just a list of things that you would love to do if you had some extra time in your day. So go ahead and write down that list right now. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the amount of time that each item on my list is going to take. Since I wasn't being super realistic, this is probably more than I'm going to be able to fit into my morning routine. So I'm just going to go through and write down next to each item on the list approximately how long I think it will take. Now that I know how long everything will take, I am going to choose my wake up time. This will help me figure out exactly which things and how many things can fit into my morning routine. Now, when you are choosing your wake up time, be realistic about when you want to get up and when you think your kids will want to get up. I like to complete my morning checklist before my kids wake up. This just helps me start my day off on the right foot, and I feel really good getting a few things done before anyone else is awake. When I sleep until my kids sleep though, I feel like I'm already starting the day behind, and it just isn't as good of a day as when I get up a little earlier. So I want to choose a time that will allow me to complete my morning checklist before the earliest that my kids will wake up. So for example, in our house, our kids typically sleep until between 7 and 8. So I want to have my morning routine done before 7. Then if they sleep a little longer, no big deal. I can take a little more time to do some of the things that I want to do. Whereas if I planned on them sleeping until 8, there's a good chance that they would wake up before 8 and I would feel rushed and I probably wouldn't get all the way through my checklist. So I am going to plan on them waking up at 7 and set my wake time to be 6 a.m. so that I have a full hour before they wake up. Now that we know how much time we have for our morning routine, I want us to go back to that list and prioritize it. And I don't just want you to prioritize it the way you think you should prioritize it. I want you to prioritize it the way you really want your morning to look. And let me give you a quick example of what I mean by this. You may think that you should put exercise on your morning routine because it's good for you and you know you should do it, but you may not actually want to exercise first thing in the morning. And if you put that on your morning routine, you will be much more likely to hit the snooze button a bunch of times instead of getting up and exercising, because it won't be motivating for you to actually get up and do it. And yes, I think exercising first thing in the morning is a great idea. But if you don't already have an exercise routine, trying to create a morning routine where you get up earlier, in addition to creating an exercise routine at that same time of day, will probably be difficult for you. So I would suggest to at first build out your morning routine with items that you would really look forward to getting up and doing. And then later, once you are used to getting up early and having a set morning routine, you can add in exercising if that is something you feel like doing. So with that in mind, go ahead and organize your list based on priority. And then the last thing that you can do is just transfer it onto either the template if you are using the autopilot workbook template, or you can just transfer it onto a new piece of paper if you are making your own template. My morning routine looks like this. Brush teeth, do devotions, drink water. Then I like to work, typically until the girls wake up, because if they do end up sleeping a little longer, then I like to get a little bit more done on my work. Then once the girls are awake, typically I will have them get dressed at the same time I am getting dressed. And by getting dressed, I just mainly mean put on workout clothes, because I find if I put on workout clothes, I am much more likely to get a workout done, as opposed to if I put on regular clothes and have to change before I do a workout. And the last part of my official morning routine is making my bed, which again, I try to have the girls making their beds as I am making mine, so we can kind of multitask and get all of that done at the same time. And that is the end of my official morning checklist, but I also put on my checklist workout and shower. I do typically do those in the morning, sometime during my morning block. Sometimes the girls and I will go for a bike ride or a run, or sometimes I will just do a workout video even while they are eating breakfast or something like that. So it does still happen in the morning, but it's not something that I try to do before they wake up. So it's totally up to you how you want to use this checklist. You can use it for everything that you need to get done during your morning block, or you can just use it for the things that you need to get done before your kids wake up. You can see I did a little bit of both. Mainly it's the things that I'm going to do in my morning routine during my personal time, but I did add in the working out and showering just because I kind of like to keep track of and see how many days a week I'm actually working out. So you can keep your morning routine as simple or make it as complex as you would like. Only you know what will be more motivating for you to get up a little earlier and get some things done before the rest of your family is awake. But no matter how you have your morning routine, how simple or complex it is, I just recommend that you have a morning routine. I found for myself that I'm just a better mom when I have a little bit of time to myself every morning to get a couple of the things done that I really want to get done before I have to start doing things for my kids and for my family all day long. So with that out of the way, let's move on to creating those kids' morning routines. If you are using the autopilot workbook, print off as many of these pages as you would like. I have 2 here since I have 2 kids, but print off more if you need more, or only 1 if you need 1. So what we are going to do now is we are just going to go through and write down the things that they need to do in the morning. Now, their list is going to be much simpler than yours is, but it is still important to write it down for them and give them some ownership for getting ready for the day. I found for my kids, when I was just telling them what to do every step of the way, there was a lot more complaining and arguing and whining about why we need to do every single step. But when I wrote it down and showed them exactly how to go through their checklist and how to check it off, all of a sudden it became something that they wanted to do, and they were really excited when they could complete their checklist without me having to be involved at all. So I find this to be really helpful, especially for kids ages 3 to 5, but I'm guessing it will be helpful even for kids older than that. Now, as you're writing theirs down, even though you are thinking simple with this, you also want to remember to be detailed, because kids don't connect the dots very well. And if you want to make sure, for example, that they use the restroom when they first wake up in the morning, write down use the restroom. And if you want them to fold their pajamas and put them away, write down fold your pajamas and put them away. And you want to write down every little step, because it's teaching them the process. They don't already know that you have to fold your pajamas and then put them away. They just think, well, I'll just shove them in the drawer and they're put away, no problem. So you have to tell them every single step that you want them to take in the morning when they're getting ready. So I'm going to go ahead and write ours down, and then I will go over exactly what we have in our morning routines. So I keep their morning routines pretty simple. First thing is to go potty. Then I want them to fold their pajamas. I want them to put away their pajamas. And yes, I do put those on separate lines. You can see here, fold pajamas is on the second line and put away pajamas is on the third line, because I want them to be able to check off each item over here and make sure they are doing both of those things. Then after they deal with their pajamas, they are to make their bed. And then after they make their bed, I like them to have a little devotional time, so they can either look at a Bible book by themselves or I can read them one. And after that, we spend some time working on their memory verse. And then I have drink water on their list. But just like with my list, they may be drinking water all throughout the time that they are doing their morning routine. But I do like to put it down, because it can be really easy to forget about that if we get going with our day. And I want to make sure they're drinking water first thing in the morning. And then that is all on my 3-year-old's list so far. We will add a little more to this later on in the series when I talk about getting our families involved. But for my 6-year-old, I did go ahead and put on her list, load the washing machine, because that is something else that I will have her do first thing in the morning. She will load the washing machine and then I will start it before we come downstairs. So now that we have those morning routines out of the way, I am going to get started creating the evening routines for my kids. In our family, the evening routine or the evening checklist starts when we finish family worship, and it ends when they are in bed going to sleep. So I'm going to go through and write down all of the little steps that we need to take to get ready for bed and go to sleep. Now, you may be thinking, my kids are too young to do an evening routine on their own. I need to help them still. And I completely get that. My kids are 3 and 6, and they still need a lot of help getting ready for bed. But having the evening routine on a checklist takes away a lot of the negotiating when it comes to getting ready for bed. and it helps them get a little bit excited about what is next and checking things off their list. So if you haven't tried this before and you have any struggles getting your kids ready for bed without complaining, I highly suggest you give this a try to see if that helps with the process. So on our kids' evening routines, the first thing is put on pajamas, and they are both able to do this piece by themselves. So typically we will send them upstairs and say, go get your pajamas on and let us know when you are ready for us. Then the next thing that we have them do is either put their clothes away. If they didn't get them very dirty, we have them fold them and rewear them, or they are to put them in the laundry if they are dirty. So they aren't supposed to just leave them on the floor, but again, sometimes they need a little reminding about that. Then they are supposed to brush their teeth, and we definitely help with this step. They aren't quite old enough to be able to completely clean their teeth on their own. Then they need to go potty. Then we read them a story, we sing a song, and we say a prayer. And this part of the routine alternates back and forth. So some nights I have my oldest daughter and my husband has the youngest daughter, and then the next night we will switch. So then I will have the youngest daughter and he will have the older daughter. And that just helps them both get some individual mommy and daddy time, and it also helps read stories that are appropriate for their ages. The stories that my 6-year-old is interested in don't really hold the attention of our 3-year-old, and vice versa. And I think I said all three of those things: read a story, sing a song, and say a prayer. And those 3 things are essentially their bedtime routine that we do every night. We didn't want a long, drawn-out bedtime routine that was going to be really complicated to do, because once your kids are used to their bedtime routine, they will notice if you try to leave out a step. So I highly recommend, especially for new parents, start off with a very simple bedtime routine. Don't overdo it. Don't add too many pieces in, because they are also pretty tired at the end of the day, and drawing out the bedtime routine can just make everyone pretty cranky. And then the last thing we do before we leave their rooms is we turn on their Lectra fans. And the Lectra fan is just a white noise machine that we have used since they were little. And those things are amazing. If you want your kids to sleep long and sleep well, I highly recommend them. And I will put a link in the description down below if you are interested. But that is the last thing we do. And then we turn off the lights and we leave their room. Now, the last routine that we are going to create in this video is your evening routine. And I think it is important for moms to have an evening routine, because it can be really easy to just keep doing housework up until the point when you go to bed. And it's really nice for me to start and end my day with a little bit of me time. But when we're creating our evening routine, we don't have to go back to square one again, because we already created our wish list on our scratch paper of all of the things that we would love to do if we had a little extra time. So now we're just going to go back to that wish list and look at the things that didn't make the cut for the morning routine. So on my list, there is classwork. I like to take classes to help my business and to just kind of improve myself and do self-development. So that didn't make it onto my morning routine because there just wasn't enough time. So I'm going to put that on my evening routine. Now, you want to keep in mind as you are creating your evening routine to take your personality into account. You may be watching my video thinking, wow, she's doing work in the morning and she's working out and she's doing classwork in the evening. But I'm very much a type A personality, and I love doing that kind of stuff. I love being busy and I love working. If you are a type B personality or a type C or even a type D personality, those things may not interest you. You may much prefer to have a bubble bath or read a book or just sit and hang out and watch some TV and not do a whole lot of anything. And that is totally okay. You want to make sure you are doing something that feeds your soul and helps you relax and get ready for bed. So I'm gonna go through and write down my evening routine now, and then I will show you what I've got. So my evening routine is pretty simple. I put on pajamas, I wash my face, I work on any classwork that I have, I get some work done if I need to do some of that, and the kind of me thing that I will do in the evening is I will make some tea. And then I also put on my routine, read a book, because I do love to read, but often I don't get around to it because I'm too busy doing other things. So I am adding that into my evening routine to hopefully get some more reading in. And the last thing that we are going to do, if you have stuck with me through this whole video, I know it's kind of been a long one, is we are going to go back to that daily block schedule that we have been working on. And we are going to write in on the morning, we're going to put Mom's morning checklist, which if you watched video number 1, you saw that I already did that. We're going to put Kids morning checklist in that morning block. And then we are going to put the Kids evening checklist on the evening block. And we're going to put the Mom's evening checklist on the appropriate block there. So I am just going to do that right now. So you can see that I have on the morning block right here, Mom's morning checklist here, Kids morning checklist here. And then on the evening block, I have now Kids evening checklist here and Mom's evening checklist here in this block. And the reason that we want to put these into our block schedule, into our daily routine, is to make sure that they get done, because it's really easy to build out these routines and then life starts happening and you just don't have time, or you don't think that you have time. But when you build the routines into your days, then it is much more likely that you will use them and they will become helpful tools that will help you live a better life. So thank you to all of you who stuck with me to the end. If you made it to the end, write in the comments down below. I am going to create my routines, and hold yourself accountable to making these routines. Of course, if you want to use these same templates that I am using, grab the autopilot workbook, and I will put a link to that down in the description below. And if you would like a little bit more detailed guidance for how to create these routines and how they all go together, check out Put Your Home on Autopilot. I will put a link in the description down below, but I'm actually offering it now as a text course also. So you can actually decide which time of day you would like to receive a text from me, and I will text you at that time with the assignment of the day. And I basically walk you through in a month how to set up every single routine that you need in your home. So be sure to check that out if you are interested. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful so more people can find it. And of course, subscribe to my channel down below so you can be sure to catch the entire series on how to easily manage your home.